Herzlich willkommen zum Ereignisraum Berlin beim diesjährigen Reeperbahn Festival der digitalen Konferenz. Mein Name ist Matthias Strobel, ich leite den Bundesverband für Musiktechnologie, Music Tech Germany hier in Deutschland. Und ich werde euch für diese Session durchs Programm führen. Wir haben zusammen mit dem Büro Doering und mit Unterstützung von Berlin Partner ein Programm zusammengestellt, das sich in erster Linie mit dem Thema beschäftigt, welchen Einfluss Technologie auf den kreativen Schaffensprozess von Künstlerinnen und Künstlern hat. Und weil aber 80% meiner Gäste nicht muttersprachlich deutsch sind, werde ich ab jetzt in Englisch switchen und werde aber versuchen, am Ende dieser 40 Minuten, die wir jetzt gemeinsam haben, nochmal alles so gut wie möglich zusammenzufassen. So, welcome everyone. My name is Matthias Strobel. I'm running Music Tech Germany, which is the Federal Association for Music Technology here in Germany. Together with Büro Doering and with the support of Berlin Partner, we have curated this session called Take It to the Next Level. In this session, we're gonna talk with artists that use technology in a very creative and extraordinary way to extend their creative possibilities in their works. So without any further announcement, I would like to introduce you to my guests. To my right is Robin Sukroso, to my left is Cibelle Cavalli Bastos, and on the far left is Melissa Logan. They will all introduce themselves in more detail once it's their turn to show what their journey was and how they actually applied technology. So in the next 40 minutes, we're going to see presentation and videos from all of these three artists, followed by a discussion and a conversation that we will have together and talk about how technology has evolved their artistic life. So the first one is going to be Robin Sukroso, but before he starts with his presentation, we're going to see a short video that explains what he's doing and why he aims to operate an entire orchestra with his guitar.
So, hello there. I'm Robin Sukroso. I'm the inventor of this MIDI controller Eggpad, which you have seen in the video before. It's the world's first wireless MIDI controller for acoustic guitar. And I quickly want to explain how it got to this idea. So I run through the slides now. The first picture shows where I'm actually coming from. It's a very tiny place called Goldbrunn. So we even have like green signs for this. It's in the south of Germany, so in Lower Bavaria, and we literally had more cows than inhabitants. So this was my upbringing, and somehow I always wanted to explore more, and for me the key out to the world was with music. So I had a lot of enthusiastic friends which were always like pushing me forward to do something with music. So I studied guitar. And I found myself then after 2 years a lot in teaching guitar and like very much composing with my head, that I was like, okay, if I want to create a funk song, then I have to have this formula. If it's jazz, then it's these chords. So I wanted to break out of this again, and after 2 years of guitar teaching, I was like, okay, now I travel the world. It was always one dream of mine. So this was like 10 years ago, and it started with the Land of the Dream and with the great festival Burning Man. And after this, I was like very open-minded, and I thought, okay, everything is possible. Many hippie friends there told me, if you dream it up, you can do it. So I was in this mindset, and then I was like, okay, I composed a lot of songs for acoustic guitar, and it was like very percussive. So I did percussions on the acoustic guitar, and I wanted to sound like an entire band, and also played bass lines and harmonies at the same time. So I applied to hundreds of festivals, and only one got back, which was this sentence in the mail: "You only play acoustic. We want bands that have a kick-ass banging sound." So I was kind of scattered, but at the same time I thought maybe there is some potential in it, because I was already thinking of having a really fat sound when I hit the body of the guitar. And this brought me to the first prototype, which was back in 2009 in Australia, where I really found a way to bridge acoustic music and electronic music and to make a new style of playing out of it. So this was done with my electronic engineering type of skills. When I was back in Berlin, I was able to convince actually friends who were more engineers than me. And then we developed this guitar, which was the Agpet prototype guitar. And with this, it was possible to perform actually like a live DJ. So then the concept was born to perform in clubs, but all made with one guitar. So I was able to live record myself, to fade in one track to another, just like a DJ, but done with an acoustic guitar. I toured about 5 years, like very extensively, mainly in Germany, and then also internationally. This brought me to India, where actually at the flight, my guitar was kind of damaged, especially the electronical stuff inside. And I said my level was not that high with electronics. So that's why I needed to reach out to some people to help me repair this guitar. And I got in contact with the Institute of Technology in Mumbai with my co-founder Deepak, Manali, and Amaldev in this picture. We worked first on this damaged guitar, and then later on my future idea, which was actually the pad for all acoustic guitars, so that this issue is not there anymore if I travel, that it could break. So after 1.5 years of Skype conferences, we came up with this prototype, which we see in the first video. And it was a great success. It went viral. We had over 150 million views on Facebook, and on YouTube about 6 million views. So we decided to form a company and go on Kickstarter. Over 2 days, we reached 8 times of our funding goal. And yeah, the rest is here, very nicely detailed, summed up. 2015 to 2018, it was nuts. I performed then like bigger stages, and I went to bigger conferences, was a TEDx speaker. I was in the television, in American TV, and in Germany. And also had all of a sudden a company, so I had to transform from musician to a business guy and to become a CEO. And at the same time, musically, I found myself stuck because I always wanted to show how I can use Agpet and only Agpet. But then later I found, actually, I want to use it differently. So not as a businessman, but as a musician again, which brought me to ambient sound explorations and to further inventions of mine. So with this foot pedal, which has the working title Elvis, I can basically change the sounds on Agpet, which you have seen in the first video. I can use like synthesizer notes and then fade in like sub-octaves, reverb, delay, do a high-cut filtering at the same time while I'm playing. And since it's like so many pedals, expression pedals, I have motoric memory, muscle memory, so immediately I know, now I need more frequencies on the higher range, so I go with the foot to the left. And we see a video to this, what I'm doing actually now in my home, in my studio, where I do living room concerts very soon. So yeah, this showed my studio at home right now. So it's not only sounds which I trigger with ACPAD, it's also instruments which were built mainly by Kai Sievers. Kai Sievers built the Glockenspiel on the left and the Glockenspiel on the right, which you have seen. So I literally can trigger the MIDI notes on the ACPAD, can live loop them, and can create new sounds with the Glockenspiel, for instance, that I trigger them and in real time, record them, play them that fast that a human being couldn't play that fast, and then do some effects on top of it. So that's a lot of fun. With Elvis, I also control lights. I've worked closely together with Carlo Catano, and so also which you have seen with the foot pedal. And right now with Kai Sievers, friend of mine and a genius inventor type of guy, as you can imagine. We came up with this prototype now. This is ECPAD version 2. That's 1, that's 2. So this will be much lighter on the guitar, so it doesn't damp the sound of the guitar as much. You have more pads, so 12. It's even less latency and more touch sensitive. So you can really play scales with it and use it like a keyboard, but with aftertouch as well. So this will be quite exciting in the year 2021. And yeah, I guess that's all to what I'm doing at the moment.
Cool. Thank you, Robin. That was pretty interesting and pretty exciting. Just quickly, you are about to release a new ECPAD version, as you just said. What was like the journey until today? You just explained, but what was the biggest learnings that you got from creating the first ECPAD to the ECPAD version 2 that you're building now?
There were many. What was a big one is that I want to start now organically and not that fastly into everything, because being a musician and also handling a company, this was quite much, and I was quite naive in that sense that I thought, now we are musicians together and we have this product and we learn from each other. It was actually quite harsh in the internet world, because some people, they were not happy with the product, and I got even threats because they thought I was misleading them or so. And so some people said, we know where you live. And so this was quite strange for me, a strange experience also in our forum. So I want to be very careful before it goes out to a broader audience, to first start getting feedback and learn from people and then expand again.
Cool, but soon everybody can have their entire orchestra and play them with their guitar. That's pretty awesome. So thank you. I'm gonna just conclude everything quickly in a summary in German, that our German audience understands what Robin has just told us. Robin hat den Traum gehabt, dass er mit einer Gitarre quasi ein ganzes Orchester steuern kann, und hat sich auf einer langen Reise nach seinem Studium bis nach Indien begeben, hat dann die ersten Prototypen gebaut und hat jetzt ein Device gebaut, das ECPAD heißt, mit dem er quasi so ziemlich alles steuern kann, was eine Software hergibt und was eine DAW hergibt. Was kann er jetzt mit seiner Gitarre steuern, und er ist dabei, ECPAD 2 auf den Markt zu bringen. Die Version wird es dann vermutlich nächstes Jahr geben. So now I'm going to come to my next guest here, to Cibelle Cavalli Bastos. Their journey is pretty exciting, because you studied art at the Royal College of Art, and you released 4 music albums, and you also had kind of like, you're kind of a conceptual artist. You expanded that field, and you have you did performances, sound arts, even sculpturing and stuff like that. Yeah. And now you're doing something with augmented reality and basically AI. So do you want to tell us or show us what you've done in the past, like your last projects, and where you're going to now?
Okay, so as we're focusing more on the tech side, I'm going to mainly show works that have been executed in augmented reality. And that's true, like there's the 4 albums and there's art and everything. For me, it's not so much, I'm not so hung up on which kind of medium I'm using for what I'm working with. It's more where I want to get with it and how and to whom, and what I want to find out in the process of developing things. So last year I came across Spark AR, and then I started playing with it, and eventually, so started publishing filters and then figuring out that there was a space there where I could put art out that was like easy to find, like place a sculpture in someone's living room or make a whole room that you can go inside. Or in one of the videos, there was like my studio from 2013 with these avatars that I use on this durational performance and social sculpture I've been working on called Avatar Perform. That's my Instagram account. And then audio capabilities appeared. And then everything I had been doing with music in the past, like since 1999, just came flooding. And there was a whole phase of mine when I was doing a lot of live sampling. So I was really appreciating your presentation. And then I looked at the patch editor and I'm like, okay, this is just like patching my pedals and doing all these things. So then, for example, the love for, sculpture, for example, then comes out in sculpting then in VR actually, and then getting that object into AR and then doing like crafting the sound and applying to it and then putting into the AR filter. And then when I met Portrait Exo Rania, there was a video towards the end that we're going to show, is the first collaboration that we did now, just came out today actually, this piece. It's a sound piece that it's remixable. It's on AR on Portrait Exo's account. It has AI-generated sounds. And also there is a sculpture, actually a sonic object by Harriet Davey, also harriet.blend on Instagram. And so the user, whoever's interacting with that, ends up with a small instrument in their hand, and they can remix stems from Portrait Exo's album. And so you have 3 motions, like 3 gestures. You can tap for one sound, and then you slide sideways, and you have more or less delay. If you long press, you have a one-shoot loop, which is the AI-generated hi-hats. And there's also the tap on the sculpture. The sculpture animates, and when you pinch the screen, you have another, which is a vocal that's AI generated.
Should we have a look in your...
Let's look at the stuff, and I can talk over them and explain more of like what was going on, I think. Oh yeah, also the visuals change with the sound as well. So it's touch reactive and it's audio reactive and like audio visual reactive too. You can press play. Okay, that's a tune. That's the first scene sculpture I made. I'm working on another one now. And that's when it didn't have particles coming out of the sculptures, and that's in Sweden. So that's my studio in 2013 at the Royal College of Art. And this avatar is a representation that I use for myself within the avatar perform and avatar deprogram body of work. This is where I do social sculpture through augmented reality, which I didn't mention now because we're focusing on sound, but it was enabling users to self-determine their pronouns, and with the movement of the eyebrows, you'd get queerness has no specific aesthetics, or you'd get gender has no specific aesthetics. And so when people share these pieces, they tag me usually, and that allows me to create a map then. So from that piece was interesting because I had a map of expressions of gender and the pronouns, and it was really beautiful. Here there's a piece behind, which was from the Sonia Calicalon body of work, and then there's another sculpture, and then I rearranged it as like a headpiece. These are more abstract. That's Flux Botanico, and it's made with the paintings that I do from the body of work Inner Botanicals, and that I also tattoo on people. There's an Instagram account called Inner Botanicals. This is Bubble Up, so you fill up your room full of bubbles. Those are my works on the wall, the physical practice. Oh yeah, also from your mouth and your eyes and your third eye, because This is about going for boredom. I was thinking a lot about boredom and how boredom is important, and like in our digital lives, like boredom is just basically non-existent anymore. So I remember being bored in restaurants and breaking like the toothpick and making a helicopter on my nose. So I wanted to enable people to be able to do that. And this is mixing yourself with other people which is this process that's happening all the time. The more we consume imagery and information on social media. This is another one with a non-binary pronoun with they, them on the cheeks, but also sculptures that relates to that. And I created a room. This was more of an exercise that I ended up putting out. Oh, that's Eloise. And here is the piece I did for Reines called Wire, for Wires, for the album Wire that just came out from Rainio. And I was hoping you can see the screen, but it's just me manipulating. Oh, we can hear this. I'm gonna shut up and we can all listen. The next video we can hear better when it's just a capture from the screen. And that's Krumelunken, my favorite lake. other than literacy. This is also my studio, by the way. One of my studios. It's important to be in nature, never forget. The more we're using these devices, please hug a plant or something. We can go to the next video if you want. And pardon my dirty screen. Okay, this is what was happening on the screen. So on the front camera, you have the sonic object that Harriet Davey designed. And as you can hear now, that was a long press, so that's the hi-hats. So yeah, when you slide up and down on the screen, you can pitch up or pitch down, and then sideways is the delay. Delay applied only to the tap. When you tap once, like that sample, that's the one that gets delayed. So as many times as you tap, as many times as you're going to get it, then you slide it. And the pinch is just a longer, more meditative. And then you can, you create your own dynamic, you repitch it. And I'm looking forward to pushing it further. There's some more cooking for other collaborations that's going to be interesting.
It was something that I just wanted to ask you. So like you've been experimenting with like so many different things in AR and stuff. So like, what are your plans for the next projects that you're aiming to do? Is it like are you gonna stick with the augmented reality world and with the sound reactive visuals that you're gonna create filters, or do you have any other plans artistic wise?
As long as it feels right, it stays. This is how I do. I practice non-attachment, so I'm not attached to any medium in particular, but I am really into exploring social media, like an expanded field of performance and social sculpture. I'm into augmented reality a lot because, like, I love gadgets. I love tech since I'm a kid, and but I'm also going into AI now. Like, I've been generating like style GANs of me known as Cibelle, like just bracket Cibelle, like the singer from 1999 to 2013, let's say. All the images that I find on Google and also stuff from my Instagram, and just kind of and throwing them and generating faces out of there. And I'm working towards a project where I'm going to work with my back catalog and collaborate with past identity. It's not so much about it's not really, I'm just using the me because it's the nearest hamster that I have, the nearest like lab rat, but it's to investigate identity formation and triggers. And basically my work is dedicated to deprogramming ourselves and enabling deprogramming for people from white supremacist, cis heteronormative, capitalist, and patriarchal psyche.
Cool.
That's what I do.
It's super important topics to actually educate people through art for. So I really like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a quick summary in German again. So Cibelle war mal oder ist immer noch Musikerin, aber hat am Royal College of Art studiert, hat 4 Alben rausgebracht und ist dann hat sich mit verschiedenen Kunstarten auseinandergesetzt und ist jetzt in letzter Zeit bei Augmented Reality Filtern hängen geblieben sozusagen und experimentiert viel mit den Möglichkeiten rum, die man heutzutage hat, um solche Filter herzustellen. Zum einen, um sie generell reaktiv zu machen auf das Bild, aber auch soundreaktiv. Und zum anderen auch die Möglichkeit, den Usern zu geben, mit den Filtern zu interagieren und mit dem Sound und mit dem Bild, das die User auf ihrem Instagram-Kanal sehen. Ihr letztes Projekt, das sie jetzt gerade heute released hat mit Portrait.xo, erlaubt unter anderem, dass man mit dem Filter den Song, den Portrait.xo produziert hat, remixen kann. So, where is it available? On Instagram, right?
It's available from today on Instagram on Portrait.xo's profile. When you look at the profile, there's a little face there. That's where the filters are for anyone. And also for me, you go to Avatar Perform and then all the filters and my instruments are there.
So die Filter sind auf dem Kanal von Portrait.xo oder von
Avatar Perform.
Avatar Perform zu sehen. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And now, last but definitely not least, Melissa. Melissa Logan is part of the infamous Chicks on Speed crew, and she has done so many things that it's really hard to summarize that in just a few minutes, because she's been around for more than 20 years, as far as I know. And what I really like that the entire, as far as I understand, the entire concept of the Chicks on Speed is that it's like kind of like collaborative system, right? So where people do co-authoring, co-creation, so where there's really like a lot of people being involved in all the different kind of art forms and art spaces and music pieces that you are creating with all of this cooperative that you're basically part of, right?
Yeah, hi.
So I'm looking forward to learn more about that.
Okay, yeah, thank you for having me here. And yeah, if you were in Berlin in the Nullerjahren, we were Chicks on Speed, we were performing all the time in the various clubs. And before that, we were in Munich at the Art Academy, where we founded our group, Chicks on Speed, with Alex Murray Leslie and I. We were bored, actually, speaking of boredom. And we just thought, what did we want in this world? And that's what we wanted. We wanted this group. And we started out with performance art, and the performance, we actually started with about 15 people, and then realized it was basically us two, and then we found Kiki Morse, someone who worked in fashion, to join us, and we started to make music, but decided not to make music because we would just take music and have someone remix it and not make anything ourselves, actually, to mimic the pop music structure at the time. And a lot of what we do is also in this frame of mimicking structures which exist and also letting them break down, destroy, and then see where we end up. And sometimes it's just really with nothing, except for a hole in the ground. Sometimes we end up with a rock. And when we work with tech, sometimes we do actually start with a rock and put a microphone in it and then start building instruments out of things, or climb over a barbed wire fence and find a piece of wood in an orchard and make that into an instrument if someone forgot their instrument at the festival. So sometimes it is also spontaneous in that way, or other times it's also very long progress and many people who are involved in an instrument, like a high-heeled shoe guitar. And so, but to go back again to the Munich Art School, band, non-band, cover band. What we did at one point is, after collaborating with DJ Hell and a few other people, then of course we did start to perform, and we actually wanted instruments, but we didn't know what. And the samplers at the time were okay, but were annoying. And we looked at guitars, but we definitely did not want to play guitar. And I like what you did with the guitar. Definitely a makeover like that would have excited us. But at the time, we had a hit called We Don't Play Guitars. And after performing that and performing it, it kind of sunk in that actually we would invent the high-heeled shoe guitar and combine the female cliche with also the male cliche of guitars, the obsession. And so we merged these two things and actually just did it with sticking a pickup and cable and...
Brought a video, right? Should we...
Yeah, we'll see the video. And then eventually this progress that went on, and we're working with technologists in hangar.org in Barcelona and the shoe designer in Milan and Max Keybarden. So we ended up also then taking prototypes that we make very spontaneous into very high-tech instruments that end up at the Royal Albert Museum, and then also worn by models, etc. So, yeah, it's all, at the same time, what I want to say, it's very like spontaneous and energized, and at the same time, it also sometimes reaches these, it sometimes ends up in vogue or on stage then with others,
Cool. Let's see the video, because I think that makes it so much more understandable for people how innovative the stuff is that you've done on your entire journey from then to today.
Yeah, so happening, the highest aesthetic pleasure is what it's really about. And for example, with a contact microphone and a glove, one can do a lot. And the power tools are always these inventions. The basis of these inventions is really to give us the superpowers that we feel missing in our lives, and even to bring then the sewer with a sewing machine and to bring her on stage as then a performance instrument. And really to also just take one's environment and use that then in the fastest and best way possible, and not to leave it to very laboriously made instruments to make music, but really also just to take a rock. And with this rock show, for example, we had 8 of them and put them through Ableton Live and actually had quite a good sound out of them. A lot of filters, though. And so the performance aspect is, of course, the goal of all this. So that's why with the happening, the highest aesthetic pleasure is really the goal of all of these inventions, tools, gadgets, objects. And this is a how-to video that we can play a little bit if you want.
3 electric guitar strings and 1 pickup. 1 guitar lead with jack to jack, 1 jack input, 1 pair of wire cutters, 1 hot glue gun with refills, 1 piece of recycled wood measuring 1 times 1 times 2 centimeters.
Yeah, so this video goes on about how to make the high-heeled shoe guitar. We are generous with the ideas, and you can find, the plans for them and download them and make things yourself if you're inspired. Or just keep on watching that how to build a high-heeled shoe guitar video. So recently what I've been thinking about, though, is, of course, the environment. With the catastrophes that are happening, the whole west coast of the US is burning, so I've been in touch with family members who are driving from different cities, going to other relatives where they cannot break through the firewall, and going into Utah or other parts of the US. And so it's because I was there also during the pandemic that then I also thought, okay, with this flying around, and we first have the aspect of performing where we're using all these fossil fuels, but then also at the same time we have all this infrastructure of also instrument building, the way things are produced, the chips, just all this bullshit of slave labor, all these. It's just the whole picture just seems to collapse with what's happening, and then I'm kind of happy with the implosion of the music world. I'm really sorry, Reeperbahn Festival, but a lot of the structures are also not good. Why do we need these big festivals, these big stages? And, I also get anxiety attack when I go into the audiences. I mean, I've seen really, like heavy situations also, like these Nature One, or I don't know, in Liverpool, these crazy festivals of hordes and hordes of people. It's uncomfortable. And so I love at the moment, we have this opening, we have this catastrophe also to rework all of this structure, that maybe just, it's enough of it, And I think that way also with inventing tools. We don't need to mass produce all of these instruments and have people, slave labor, working so hard. And instead, I think it's very great that people invent their own instruments. They're, the filters, these amazing things. We don't need a big piano to be transported around. We can use what we have, really. So, yeah, in this way, I would say to anyone watching, grab what's in your environment, get your piezos, your contact mics, start programming, get an Arduino, and have fun and make your own instrument. I definitely say, though, I'll warn you that it's contagious and it's addictive. So once you get into this land, you might spend a few years lost in geek land.
Good that you just said it, because that was exactly what I wanted to ask you. What would be your advice to the people out there to actually turn into an alley of experimentation and be innovative? And in India, there's a word called jugaad, which means exactly that, take what you have around and fix things the best possible way, what you can do with the things around. So yeah, I couldn't agree more with what you just said, basically all of you. And I'm super happy. I mean, it's a shame that we only have 1.5 minutes left, because I could have started an entire conversation with you now for another hour, because it's so inspiring and so interesting and exciting what you are doing. And I think more people should just be brave enough to pick up something and express themselves in a creative way without thinking about the reactions of other people, just doing that for the purpose of treating themselves well and expressing themselves. But unfortunately, that was way too short, and we have to actually end this gathering of us already. We have 1 minute left, and what I wanted to say is that I'm totally inspired by you guys and everybody out there watching this. Please dig in the internet, and on the Reeperbahn Festival page you get the links to all of these 3 amazing people, and dig what they're doing, find out what their work is about, and I'm pretty sure that they are also happy if you will get in touch with them. And so yeah, but this was basically a short run through the journeys of 3 extraordinary creative artists that apply technology to their works. And so I want to say thank you to all of you for coming and for showing what you're doing and for inspiring other people. And yeah, and thanks you out there for watching. That was our session with the topic Take It to the Next Level with these amazing artists. And stay tuned because now we're going to see, now we have a short break in which Julia from Berlin Partner is going to talk about different Fördermöglichkeiten. And before I'm going to introduce her and before I give up to her, I just want to sum up this entire session in German. Wir haben jetzt gerade 3 super spannende und interessante Künstlerinnen und Künstler hier auf der Bühne gesehen, die alle Technologie für sich selber nutzbar machen auf Art und Weise, wie es andere nicht machen oder wie es wenige machen. Und ich hoffe, das war inspirierend für euch da draußen, vielleicht auch mal selber was in die Hand zu nehmen und einfach damit rumzuexperimentieren und versuchen, die eigene Kreativität in den Gegenständen, die ihr so habt, auszudrücken. Und ja, damit beende ich jetzt diese Session und möchte Danke sagen. Und als nächstes seht ihr jetzt hier Julia Krüger vom Berlin Partner, die euch über verschiedene Fördermöglichkeiten hier in Berlin aufklären wird und euch dazu was erzählen wird. Viel Spaß damit.